Bring this meeting to order. Secretary, Mr. Green, we have a full quorum this evening, minus the open seat.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'll
Okay, place 3. Thank you. All right. With that, let's begin with an invocation given by Stan Donaldson. Sorry, Stan.
Gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity to serve the citizens of Montgomery. We thank you, Lord, you supply wisdom and knowledge, Father, to give us understanding so that we'll do not only what's right in your sight, but what's right for the city of Montgomery and their future growth. And we thank you for these things. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. All right, now the Pledge of Allegiance to the American flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
I'd like to make sure everybody checks their phone, that it's silenced, so that we can hear the business at hand. With that, I didn't receive any visitor or citizens forum sheets. Did you receive? Okay. All right, then we'll move on to the consent agenda. Item number 1 on your agenda, City Council workshop minutes, 6/10/24. Item number 2, first regular City Council meeting minutes, 6/11/24. Item number 3, consideration and possible action regarding an escrow agreement by and between the City of Montgomery, Texas and Dave Carter, NDC Holdings LP, for proposed Firestone Complete Auto Care on Restricted Reserve B of McCoy's Montgomery Plat Development number 2410. Council, would you like to take these individually or cumulatively?
All together.
I agree.
All right. I would entertain a motion then.
All right, I will present a motion to accept the consent agenda items 1 through 3.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded that we accept the consent agenda as presented. This motion is debatable, amendable, and requires majority vote. All those in favor of accepting the consent agenda as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, the motion carried, and we will accept the consent agenda as presented. Consideration and possible action. Item number 4, preliminary review and discussion of a proposed 75-acre single-family residential development along Lone Star Bend.
Good evening, everyone. If you look in your packet, starting on page 49, you'll see a location map showing where this project is located. So this is at the end of the States of Mialago subdivision. Access is proposed off of Lone Star Bend, so it's not part of the Mialago subdivision, but it's adjacent to. If you look at the other items in your packet, you'll see a letter from the engineer that's working on the project, as well as a preliminary site plan shown on page 1 of your packets. The purpose of this is they gave initial feedback, and their engineer is here tonight if you have any specific questions for him. The main thing they're considering is where and how to obtain water and sewer service. So currently the property is not in the city of Montgomery, ETJ, or it is in the city of Conroe, ETJ. In the last legislative sessions, the legislative passing process for a developer or landowner to request an expedited release from an ETJ that meets certain criteria. So the developer is contemplating doing that, going to the city of Conroe, requesting relief from the ETJ to be able to be in it by Montgomery into the city limits to provide service, or remain in the Conroe ETJ and look at a neighboring lead or their own lead to provide service, and the city will not be involved at all. So again, purpose of tonight is to provide initial feedback. So what they're showing, starting on page 50 of their memo, they have about where did they go? 75 acres, about 55 lots, being larger 3/4 acre lots, with an estimated value per home of $550 to $750, bringing a total valuation of about $36 million if the city was to annex and provide service. And then you can see on the map on page 51 the preliminary layout, the access to Lone Star Bend, and that all these lots back up to the existing drainage canal that's back there that will close in North Conroe. Based on preliminary discussions with the developer, they have talked to the river authority, and they would be able to direct the outfall to the canal. The river authority considers that part of the lake, so they wouldn't need detention on their site because of that. So that's why you don't see any detention ponds or anything like that in this land. So the process would be is one, ask questions of the developer, decide if you're interested or not. Tonight is not an action item, it's discussion to give some guidance. So they know they should go and pursue the route, and then it would go through the normal city process. They still have to do escrow agreement, feasibility study, development agreement for the annexation and connections and their capacities, et cetera. But it's more of a gauging interest in John than anything.
It's all outside the city limits?
There is a small sliver right where it connects at Lone Star Bend, and part of it, that first lot is in the city.
Okay.
So, developer couldn't be here tonight, I apologize. Last minute, family matter that he couldn't attend. So just kind of here to answer your questions, develop questions. The developer is his own builder, it's DH Homes. They have done some homes in the area, I believe some in the city as well. As Chris mentioned, there has to be a higher price point in the 50 to 750 range. They are 3/4 acre lots. I know Chris mentioned seeking sewer service. It's likely we would just do water. Sewer would be on the table. They would just kind of figure out if on-site septics or the gravity collection sewer facility, public facility would better for them. But either way, they're going to stick to the 3/4 acre lots. They are going to, I know that there's a floodplain on here. There's a lot of drainage improvements that have been made over the years in the floodplain that likely weren't fully studied and updated. They are seeking for us to go ahead and update that so we truly delineate the floodplain boundaries. They wouldn't conflict as much with this current land plan. It's anticipated that floodplain would be able to really shrink down a little bit. So happy to answer any questions.
The ingress and egress is one spot. It's not, they're not going to be able to go in and out of Mialago Drive. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
Neil is a private
Sure.
development. They've talked to them, there's no connection. Regarding the access, we have coordinated with fire marshal. Typically anything over 30 lots requires 2 means of ingress and egress. Well, of course, we only have one in kind of Thermal Couch. We coordinated with the fire marshal's office. They are allowing us to do this boulevard entry, which is on the bottom right hand instead of the site plan that's in front of you. They just require 2 20-foot lanes with that median, and then as long as all the internal streets are 28-foot roads, which is your minimum already, then they would have no access. This would be, asphalt, open ditch, subdivision.
So, just to be clear, if we were to bring them into city limits, they would fall under all of our codes, right? For inspection by our engineers, for water, sewer, everything, right? They're aware?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's nothing here that we're seeking any type of variances for. The only thing I think of it, double check, is maybe a radius on a roadway, but I think we're being held to legal ordinances.
So the canal, does it have a name, or who built that canal? What's it for?
I believe it was the original developer of Mialago. So their intent ultimately was probably to do some type of lake access, to do some kind of boat ramp or dock on the very east side. But the SGRA does consider this to be one of the lakes. The canal was dug, dredged, and directly connects to the lake, even closer to the Walden Bridge. But this is considered a part of the lake.
Does it have any erosion problems, this canal?
Not that I know of, but SGRA is very particular on that. So I had a conversation with them earlier this week. During construction, they would focus on it a lot. They have very little enforcement as part of their government portfolio. They're pretty quick to call TCQ on you if they are telling you that you're not going to have proper EMPs or road control devices in place, and then you're not trying to fix any issues they bring up. But they just, I told them that any type of construction or pre-construction meeting, make sure that we understand what their expectations are, requirements are, and then we have to submit our outfall details to SGRA and any of our BMPs have the opportunity to review and approve our connections to their lake and the encroachment control wetlands.
So you're not planning to use this canal as access to the lake for the homeowners?
They would eventually. I think there's going to, not for individual lot owners, there'd be like a community, really the intent is to have a community boat ramp.
Yeah, it says a property, yeah.
Yeah.
Boat ramp on the bottom
the
left-hand corner.
far right.
Far right corner.
Yeah, I see the
Yeah.
proposal.
The location's probably a little high grade right now, but with more details, we'll be able to look at the property that's on the location.
I don't have any issues with that.
I see that-
Yeah, they would, their preference is city of Montgomery. The alternative, Chris may mention, is, potentially much to the east. Both require their own processes for feasibility studies, and they definitely prefer to do one rather than the other. This is the preference moving forward, if we think this would be a viable project in the city.
I like it.
Well, the preliminary plan looks good to me.
I see ISD has got 87 acres south of there, and that's not, is that in Conroe's ETJ as well? Okay.
That's the school off of Vine Beach.
Oh, okay, wow, yeah, okay, now I got one. Right,
Stewart Creek.
no, it's junior high.
Right.
Both.
Both?
Yeah, they're
Okay.
right next to
All
each
right,
other.
yeah, they are right next to each other. Okay. Curious. All right.
Very good.
No action, but I think I got it, but to gauge the interest. No major objections, and as far as y'all see at this point, proceed forward and go through the normal process and reevaluate in more details.
Yeah,
Okay.
that'd be welcoming.
Item number 5 on your agenda, discussion regarding development agreement with Tri Point Homes.
Right, so similar to the last time, this is a discussion item. So if you remember back in April, May, we presented the feasibility study for the High Point development, which is the Juniper Stewart tracks to the middle of the city. In front of you, you have a 3 pages. The second one by there, I think it is the current main plan for this development. It's also in your package that are copies. So the point of the night, so the developer has requested a development agreement and wants to move forward with that. So we want to talk about just the general terms of the development agreement, get your thoughts, any major objections, so that first draft that comes out is generally in line with what the city is thinking. So in your memo on page 52, kind of hit the main 8 points of the agreement. Most of them are relatively straightforward with just a couple variations as we go down. So one is, as we talked about the feasibility study, they would extend a 12-inch water line along Lone Star Parkway to pass their western boundary in order to connect to their water service. So this agreement would have in there that they would put that in at their cost, and that would be subject to impacting credit for their request for that construction of the water line. Item 2 on here is oversizing the water line through the development. So one thing that has changed since the feasibility study, this is really related to the roadway as well. So when you look at the exhibit, the second one in front of y'all, the proposed right-of-way collector through the street, or through the development, has modified after a couple of discussions with the developer. So main concerns, obviously from the development standpoint, is having a collector road through the development and having homes on it isn't ideal. So what they have proposed on this land plan is that there's no homes at front on the collector. So they would essentially dedicate the right of way and construct half of it from 105 to the Carlisle property. And then you see the dashed line for the future extension of that road that would ultimately.
So that's right by Napa?
Correct. So this would rebuild the road next to Napa, make it a full 36-foot wide concrete street, realign it within their property in the existing right-of-way that makes more sense, and then extend that northwards through the development. And then at this time, they would stub it out at that northern boundary, and then the future right-of-way would continue in that dashed line.
That creek that runs through there, what is that? Which creek is that?
That is a tributary of Montgomery.
So I'm confused real quick. So last time we were at council, all of us, that that thoroughfare plan, there's no date and time for that to ever be addressed. And so we all were kind of like, we're not going to pay attention much to that and move forward. So are these dots up here on page 2? Is that the major thoroughfare plan? We're still putting it in the,
This is, so the packet I gave you all, there's, the first page of that is kind of tying in the water. So between Lone Star Parkway, this property, the Track Point Agreement, and the Stewart, the Stowe Track, how all those tie together based on their current land plan. So the third page of your packet is the revised land plan from the Stowe property, which does the same thing on dedicated environmental construction road on their piece, which leaves a couple of chunks to continue because it is still, of our opinion, that we need that north-south corridor.
okay. I mean, yeah.
This little street right here,
Yes, sir.
is that going to tie into a Lone Star? Or
That is, so that will be their access for the regular homes in the neighborhood, is at that and Lone Star Parkway, and then they would come off of the future Westway Drive on the southern portion of the drive.
So they'll have 2 entrances, one.
Correct, they would have an entrance off of 105 and Lone Star Parkway.
Oh, there's the lot sizes.
The lot sizes?
65 by 110s and 120s.
On this project is 90 by 125. So these are the larger lots on this, the Stowe property. They are more.
Oh,
Yeah, they're-
That's not a disagreement, that's just the upper right.
They plan on having a gate?
No.
No? 'Cause I thought originally there was going to be gates, okay. They're not,
Yeah, it's not,
it's not going to be gated?
it's not.
So is it odd that we do the thoroughfare plan on the north side but not the south side, and it's having them do it instead of the county?
What do you mean?
So the thoroughfare plan doesn't have a date, like we would use their road, the county would use their road if that ever came to fruition 50 years from now?
Yeah, I mean, it's the thoroughfare plan was put in conjunction with, so the city had a
Yeah.
thoroughfare plan that we did a couple years ago in
Yep.
conjunction with the precincts. The county's update that was done back in 21, I believe it was, that took into consideration that thoroughfare plan plus the communication between the two as we line. So yes, those connectors further south of 105 onto the Stowe track and then over will be part of the county consideration.
But there's no date. I guess I'm just confused why we're still talking about it, because we all were like, oh, we don't need to worry about it. Because it's not on any roadmap at all at the county.
I mean, it's on the county's thoroughfare plan. And I know
Without a date,
It's
yeah.
painful, but trying to get, established the way in the chunks as we can to be able to connect that in the future versus, and having partnering developers to do that and putting in these sections of road so it makes sense versus one kind of county, city going in and trying to acquire all the right of way and build the road in one spot versus into more manageable chunks, because breaking it down to, half a mile chunk is much more manageable than the full couple mile way, or a couple mile route.
So would that be coming from the county then to build that bigger road?
So the county is the one that's responsible
Right.
for this, but now the developer's going to be responsible for it?
Well, that's what I'm trying to understand.
Yeah.
Are you going to get any kind of reimbursement from the county for that wider road?
Hasn't been discussed. Hasn't been
No, this is Daniel Tripoint, so no, I guess at this point it would be annexed, would be county, would be a city. I think it would be a city road.
If it's in the city without a separate agreement, it would be a city road. And that's part of this agreement is the county's involvement to get their discussion on this road. That's part of the wishes of the city is to get the county to take this road and be in their maintenance plan. We'll have to discuss that.
We can't get Lone Star Parkway out of it. I don't want to have to get in another match with them on that. I mean, I'd like it to be determined up front, because trying to give something,
Oh, okay, no, I'm not saying after the fact, I'm saying as part of this, is have that discussion as part of it.
Yeah.
currently with this development.
Yeah, I know Commissioner Walker said he doesn't care, don't take it into consideration, is what he told me. Y'all do what you need to do, so.
Are these streets going to be curbed and guttered?
Yes.
They will?
I just don't know where making the developer put
Where's
it
the major runoff going to be? Towards Town
in. Like
Creek?
that's right at all.
Yeah, so the, all has to be designed with the extreme event would run toward Town Creek through their detention pond, that they have proposed on the east side of the property.
I know you think it's a silly question, but you know, where I live, the water builds up like 40 feet from where it's supposed to go in the sewer. I don't want to see that happen again, so,
Right.
you know.
So again, if the council wishes to ignore the railroad plan, and then that can be revised, and they would likely go back to more of their original land plan, which is in your packet on page number
Just I'm
60.
gonna have to go to the county to give them something.
This is their original land plan that had it as a slightly larger right-of-way along Westway, but more of the lot to the front that, because it wouldn't be.
This one right here.
Oh, what page are you on?
I'm on page 60. Four, I believe.
Oh, got it.
64 is their original land plan from.
Yeah.
It's a project, yeah.
I just don't want to have to try to go negotiate with the county and who's going to own what after, because it's not worked out. And may have the developer pay for something that they think they might want at some point.
If that is the council wish, take that out.
Well, it wouldn't hurt to ask the county what they want to do.
He didn't, I talked to him, he didn't care. He's like, we're not doing that anytime soon.
Okay.
He's like, I don't really care what you do with it.
All right.
Right, that's
Yeah.
the county stance generally on any thoroughfare that goes to the city is going to default to the city.
Well, and he doesn't have this on any roadmap, and then TxDOT doesn't have it on any roadmap for them to even come in, so I don't know what year, our Lord, any of that would take place.
One, so I can go back to the list of other items. So oversizing the water line through the development. So we have a 12-inch that connects to close that water line loop. It would be worded a little bit differently than item number 2 here. This would be the full length, and there would be an oversized share for your permits that you have. Item 3 is the lift station in Gravity Sewer reroute and force main that was discussed in the feasibility study. What the developers request there is on a cost sharing of that. As a reminder, they're only using 30% of that capacity, but we're all working for relocating it in. That lift station is in need of shape. So they've requested kind of 2 potential options that I want to get feedback on. Obviously not a decision, but at least the first draft is a 50-50 cost split up front. So they'll put up 50%, city puts up 50% of the cost, upfront cost of the project. They would also entertain a kind of long-term payback at a higher percent. So, say, using numbers, 70% payback over a 5-year period versus a 50-50 split up front.
What's the estimated cost of it?
About 1.2 million, I believe. So, I mean, it's not a cheap project. We're talking a significant lift station, reroute of the lines, electrical layer and all that. So, it's not a cheap project. So, there's definitely. And it serves a lot of the city outside of this development, so I think that some kind of cost sharing would be beneficial. And I think that a larger payback.
Which station is that again?
Lift station number 5. So this is currently the one that if you go by between Montgomery Road and Napa, it's down in the bottom.
Down at the bottom.
So this would relocate that lift station to on Westway Drive, so further north, to get it out of the creek, out of the way from the right of way. Reroute the lines to it, and then have a accessible, because right now access to that lift station problem is just the condition of that lift station.
So we would need to pay 70% back of 1.2 and within 5 years? Is that what you're saying? That's the cost share, that's what we're saying. Okay, yeah, okay.
It's more
Okay.
just the concept that if the council is
Yeah.
looking to a larger percent over
Sure,
time,
sure.
we'll put together kind of the cash flow.
I think that makes sense.
Work with
Okay,
the attorney to put a draft in front of you all and the developer, but just
sure.
the general concept.
Okay.
Okay?
And these roads, how wide are these roads? Are they 28
These
feet?
are all 28.
Okay. There's been
Well,
big,
they're all-
big discussions about,
With 90-foot lots, we're all proposing asphalt with a ditch. So these are asphalt with a ditch.
No sidewalk?
no sidewalks,
We're
okay.
still, this is Daniel again, we're still considering the two. We priced it, 4 asphalt based off the larger lot. When we go to 90, we see benefits also going curb and gutter. So we haven't made a final decision on that, but they will be 28-foot wide.
There's just been big discussions about emergency vehicles. Yeah, making that turn. We've got new neighborhoods in here and it's been,
Well, that's a large neighborhood. It takes over a large chunk of
Yeah,
area.
yeah.
With no sidewalks.
yeah. Be easy to turn around. And they're not on top of each other like the other neighborhood that's having issues. Okay,
And then the last couple items are straightforward. One, the city will annex the rest of the property. There is a sliver that's out. Impact fees would be paid at the time of plating, which is what we put in all the development agreements. City consent, so they are still evaluating the option of joining an existing in-city mud between Redbird or Concrete or the other muds in the city, or creating their own. That hasn't been decided, but just the general concept of consenting to that creation or consent. And at this point, item H is more of a no. There are no requested variances at this time.
got a question, Chris. On number 1, the 12-inch water line, developer deposit funds into the city to design and construct.
Correct.
And then city provide impact fee credit. Do we know what that delta would be roughly? Are we given a $2 million credit, or are we given a $200,000
No,
credit?
so at
difference?
the time of this study, their impact fees were assumed at $153,000.
Uh-huh.
That off-site water line was estimated at $400,000, so they would be capped at the maximum amount of the impact fee. So you're not, if you collect 153, 175, depending on the timing,
Yeah.
that they would get up to that amount back, not the full cost.
Okay,
Maybe just water or sewer.
That's just one.
thank you.
So let me kind of just, from the discussion we had, just kind of clarify a few items. So one, sounds like y'all would be more in favor of the, or at least the payback over time at a higher percentage, exploring that option versus the cash upfront.
I'd just like to see them both, just see what our actual cost output
We can
would
do
be.
that. And then ignoring the major thoroughfare plan, so let them go back to their original concept that had the street through, no thoroughfare through the property. One,
It appears if we ignore it, they would actually have more lots, is that correct?
Yes.
So that would actually work out. I don't mind
there's a
it
few more
ignoring
to
it.
go.
Yeah, I don't mind
130
ignoring
lots
it
on the
either.
land plan with the right of way.
Yeah,
6 lots.
6 lots. Yeah, that's good.
Lanya.
Yeah, versus 136.
Add 6 lots. Okay. Good.
And then just to circle back to the sidewalks, is that something you want to see in the agreement? Or at least a consideration of trails, sidewalks, et cetera?
Sure.
Is that, a lot of times we
Like
don't-
one-sided sidewalks, one side of the street type sidewalks, at least so there's access for people
We
to
can come up with
walk.
some options, so, you know, this is similar to what y'all did at Redbird. Redbird is part of their development agreement when they created MUD, had the trails and the shared use path along Old Fanyersville Road. We can work with the developer and their engineer to kind of come up with a couple scenarios to put some type of trail, greenway, pedestrian improvements.
I just don't want to see people walking around on the streets. and
Right.
there's cars all over. It's, like I said, it's a big neighborhood, so it's not like you're going to walk in the neighborhood, so.
Oftentimes, we'll consider, we can absolutely, we'd be like, pedestrian. If 2 doesn't Conroe, we'd like 2 sidewalk where it's not required. But with larger lots, if you go open ditch, it gets challenging to do consistent parallel. So a lot of times we'll come up, our architects come up with a sidewalk plan, and we'll have interconnection with, we'll have walkways along our detention pond area to Greenbelt. So a lot of times we'll have an overall comprehensive one, we'll take sidewalk easements through certain lots to add that connectivity, but it's not necessarily forced in every lot. to have.
Right, absolutely right.
Think you got it. All right, thank you.
How many lots was it again?
So we're doing 130 and 100.
Second plan was
130, 136, yeah, take out the thoroughfare plan, I get 6 more.
Right.
Read off of this, it's.
Can you stand up just for the audience too? Yeah, thank you for the podium. Yeah.
It says 125, but yeah, that's about the.
No, sorry, 175.
Right, on the other one, I think it was just mislabeled.
Got it.
Okay.
So the intent, even with the third grade edition, we kept them at 175, so not
I
125.
like
Okay,
those
good.
lots.
Okay,
I like
thank
those
you.
lots.
Yeah, it's good problem. Okay, thank you.
What was the price point of these homes?
Probably average around 700, I guess. Probably
Take
push
it.
above that, I think I'll set it
Right.
down.
Take it. All right. Okay. Item number 6 on your agenda, consideration and possible action regarding an award and execution of construction contract for the Water Plant 2 Improvements Project. Catherine?
Good evening. So, talking about the water plant number 2 improvements project, we received bids for this project on May 16th. The results of the bids are enclosed in your packet, so we are looking at page 79 of your packet are the results of the bids. The low base bidder came in was Shear Construction Company Incorporated with their total base bid plus supplemental in the amount of $2,990,950. 0 cents for 300 calendar days for substantial completion. A couple things to note on this, the supplemental bid item, this is for the evaluation of the GST, the ground storage tank foundation. Whenever we demolish the ground storage tank, we are going to evaluate the foundation and check the condition to see if it needs to be replaced at that time. There's an amount in the bid that allows for that replacement if it's needed. If the tank comes down and we evaluate the foundation and it is not needed, the item will not be paid. So this is kind of a worst case scenario of what was bid.
How much is backed out? Curious-ish.
About $100,000
Okay.
for the foundation if it's not needed. So these bids came in higher than expected, just to be perfectly plain. They did come in higher than expected. So we evaluated the bids, and the main driver of why they were high was the well. That was the largest difference from our initial estimate. A couple of things about our estimate. We estimated that the type of well that went in would be the same as what was existing at water well number 2. It was a submersible one-piece well. And whenever we got into design, the decision was made of going with a 2-piece well with a vertical turbine motor. Which means the motor is up on top. It's a lot easier to access. You don't have to pull it all the way up from the ground to work on it. You can maintain it right there and see it from the ground. This is similar to what's at water plant 3 for those of y'all who have been there. And then the one-piece versus 2-piece well, the main difference is in how it's constructed. So a one-piece well is constructed as it sounds, all in one piece. A 2-piece well is constructed as 2 separate pieces with an outer casing, some gravel, and then an inner casing is the construction method. The advantage of doing a 2-piece well is maintenance long-term. So a 1-piece well really cannot easily be reworked if you start to need kind of a rehab of your well. So it shortens your lifespan since you can't go in and do that thorough rehab that you can do with a 2-piece well. You can rework a 2-piece well and really extend that lifespan. So it's a huge advantage of doing it. There is a cost difference. It's a couple $100,000 more to do a 2-piece well, but we see the advantage of doing that just because of the longevity and being able to do a rework on it instead of having to abandon and drill an entirely new well again with 1 piece. Because the bids came in high, normally we are not waiting 5 to 6 weeks before we bring the bids to you, but in that amount of time, we have been hard at work to try to get this price down for you. So we called Shear, the low bid, as well as W.W. Payton and some others to see why did they bid or why didn't they bid, what were the main drivers in their cost being higher than what we expected, and trying to problem solve and how can we reduce that cost while still bringing good product to the city. Like I mentioned, a couple of the reasons that the cost was higher was the motor type being vertical turbine versus submersible and 1 versus 2-piece. Another reason that came up that Shear brought up was the type of casing. The type that we had originally spec'd was a little bit harder to find and not readily available right off the shelf. And if we went with a different type of casing, it would be easier for them to get quicker, and it's a little bit easier to install. So that is one modification. It's not going to impact the performance of the well. It's not going to be be an inferior quality well by any means. It wouldn't jeopardize the quality of the well.
What was the price difference on the piping?
Couple hundred?
On the casing itself,
Yeah.
couple $100,000.
Yeah.
Just for materials?
Materials and installation
No,
also
no,
went
no,
with a-
time out. I meant trace, trace material. So just because we changed the type of the casing, not the design, what was the cost difference between what you designed and what they quoted us?
We did, so whenever we reached out to them for a revised price, we didn't get a kind of a breakdown. Here's what it is for the casing, here's what it is for a one-piece versus two-piece. We presented it as one scope change to the well, and then they gave us the price that is listed in the change order, which is your next council item.
Right, so I guess my question lies in if we were to procure the other type of tubing and casing, what would be the savings?
Like if the city were to procure the other casing,
Anybody, if they were to be able to find it.
So it was so what the change order is, on your question, the original bid amount included the threaded, no, the bell casing, we're getting now, flange versus threaded.
Okay.
So the threaded, which they're going to, that's included in the contract reduction, so your next item is the change order, the contract reduction of $486,000. So that includes the casing, or the different type of material, as well as a couple other things that got.
So that's probably where your significant difference in budget is
yes.
in materials. So that's why I look at it and say, why would I say in a change order when we designed it a certain way and we just have to ask them to get it?
It was materials was part of it, was the casing also the method of construction, the flange installation versus a threaded installation. We were originally proposing a flange,
Yep,
and
you
they
just
came
said
back and suggested the threaded.
Right.
It is-
And there was based on the piping, it's not completely broken out, but $500,000 difference.
Correct, 456,000.
That's significant when we could just ask them to go get what we want. Right?
Right.
That's a lot of money. Not saying that's what we have to do, but it's just a question I'm asking. Like, why wouldn't we just ask them to get what we want?
To get what we had originally proposed.
Yeah? It's a $500,000 question.
Right, they were going to be able to do it, just not for $500,000 less. They were going to be able to get the material, it was just for a price.
But you said the threaded was more expensive than the material that you if they would go get it.
Other way around. Other way around. The threaded is the less expensive option than the flange installation.
Doesn't make any sense for your explanation then.
So the bid spec the flange, they bid on the flange. Going through where do we have cost savings, we talked to them about construction time, that was one of the issues, and working hours as well as the material, switching to thread versus flange.
Okay.
So the change order is a reduction for them to go from the flange
From the flange.
to the threaded, is a reduction of 456.
Okay. I was a little confused because I was asking what the difference was in the materials to go up, down. Okay, I'm with you.
Sorry.
Understood.
So a couple of options that y'all have at this point is the first option, and what we are recommending is to award the contract to Shear Construction for their base bid plus supplemental, as well as awarding the change order in your next item to change the scope of the project and reduce that contract amount. The reason for this is it's a known contractor. Shear is a known contractor. They're subbing the well to Allsay Incorporated, which is one of the big names in public water well drilling. WGA necessarily has not worked with Shear, but Chris and I have previously worked with Shear. We had no objections. It's a known price, so we know what the price is going to be. We have it in a contract change order, ready to sign. The second option that you have would be to rebid the project with this revised scope, doing the same changes that we just discussed, but going out for bids again. This is a little bit riskier of an option. The risk being that prices could come in higher. We don't have control over that. We did talk to one other contractor that did not originally bid about this project to get their ideas on how could we maybe make some scope changes. They would be interested in bidding if we did rebid, but there's, again, not a guarantee that they'll bid and not a guarantee that their price will be better. With the price that you have, thinking about funding and how this is going to be paid for, you have room in the CO loan for this project, even with the revised price, including engineering. So there is sufficient room there. We also, part of this project is eligible to be paid for with impact fees. So we have a balance of impact fees that is available, as well as additional impact fees that we're expecting to come in this year from Red River Meadows.
Right. We're using up most of those impact fees to redo that sewer location, aren't we?
Not necessarily.
So the sewer relocation wouldn't be impact fee eligible because it's not an upsizing. Nor is it under capital money.
Gotcha. So the difference in cost is about $25,000 increase over their planned budget, right?
Where are you?
Where are you seeing that?
I'm just looking at your revised amount versus the budgeted amount.
On
What page are you on, Chris? I mean,
Casey.
Casey.
So if you look at page,
I just want to make sure that I'm.
yeah, so page 80 is the original estimated budget of $1,700,000. And then the change order with the project, which is the next item down, I'm skipping ahead, is $1,722,2500. So after all the adding and subtracted, we're just asking for a $25,000 increase in the project?
Yes,
Because that's what it looks like.
No,
I'm not seeing that.
1,725. I'm not sure where that number is. The
Where are you
total
seeing that?
revised estimated
there.
cost, including engineering, is that $2,679,450. That's the revised
No,
estimate.
not according to the change order.
You're looking at something different than I am.
That's because I'm putting both of those together so you can actually make sense of what they're trying to do.
So on the change order, if you're looking at page 83, the revised contract amount after the change order is $2,534,954.
I see where you're seeing the $1,725,000 now. That's just for that bid item. So the way this change order is kind of walking you through it, we're only looking at item number 5 from the bid form, is the only item that's being modified with this change order. The original price for that was $2,181,000, and with this change order, it's being revised down to $1,725,000
So
for that line
the
item.
bidded price was $2 million, but your original estimated project cost was $1,700,000. I'm looking at it.
All in for the whole project.
No, not the whole project, for that line item. For water well number 2.
For the well itself, our estimate was $1 million.
The water well number 2 plant improvements, and then you go down to your other project, which is the same line item, number 2 plant improvements.
Water plant number 2 improvements, as the project includes more than just the well. It includes replacement of the GST.
I know, but the one line item that includes the well is one, it's fine, just move on. It's your math, I'm just reading it. It's right there, line 1, number 2, water well improvements, 1.7 budget. Go down to the change order, water well number 2, 1.725. I understand that not all the changes are in that line item, but I'm trying to understand the difference in the well itself right now, because it's
So on, we received the 1.7, that was to all the CO projects. So that first line item is that full plant project cost, so the well and ground storage and everything. Those additional line items underneath the water plant number 4 are separate projects.
right, exactly. That's why I'm looking at one line item.
So that one line on water plant number 2 improvements, the original estimate was 1.7. The revised project total cost estimate is 2.6.
Revised project after when? After we got the bid?
Correct.
Yeah, so our original budget was
So we're-
$1.7 million.
Correct.
Our projected now, after deductions and everything, is 1.725.
2.679.
The 1.725 is only for the well, which is a part of the
This is
entire
a
project.
piece, this is everything, all encompassing, yeah, that's, yeah.
It's $2.5 million basically, what the bid is.
Yes,
Right.
that's what the bid is.
That takes a big chunk out of our money that we had planned for 2
I'm reading this as
projects.
line items, that's how they, and the other costs aren't in here, so
Yeah.
I don't see the whole picture.
No, I know. I saw
That's
that.
kind of-
That's, I've been looking too. And it stretches against 2 different agenda items, so you have to go back and forth. I get you.
I was gonna say, it's hard to go back and forth.
Casey, I'm very happy to talk with you.
Well, I don't need to talk about it, I just want to see the line items broke out. Everywhere that we budgeted a certain amount, I want to see what the
What's
increase
the-
was.
Yeah, where the deltas are.
Yes, and I'm happy to send you our original cost estimate,
Yeah.
so you can see.
And
line-
the detailed bid tab. So we
Yeah.
have, we only have the summary bid tab in here, but all the bid on tank, foundation, and the site work and everything else will be.
It just, that $1.7 million jump to almost $2.7 million jump
Right.
is a big,
It's a big.
big dollar.
It
Yes.
is, which, and we were shocked too.
Yeah.
We were just as surprised, which is why we went through so much effort to try to reach out to the contractors who did bid, as well as others, to try to value engineer it and bring the cost down.
Are we getting a bleach well?
This project does not include. bleach.
No.
No bleach.
No, sir.
Yeah, it's just, it's rough to be off by over 30%.
Agreed.
Tell me the address of this water plant.
905 Stewart Street.
Thank you.
It's right at the end of Houston.
The bond money was originally for the well and to start on the wastewater treatment plant. Where we sit now, we don't have any money, much money left to do anything for the wastewater treatment plant. So you're asking us to decide whether we need to go ahead with this well, and I know we need to, and we have the money in the bond of 3.4 million, but what are we gonna do with the other projects?
Does that push them?
I didn't know that we could take that whole money and just spend it any way we wanted. Mary Ann, do
So
we?
It has to be used for projects similar in nature to what was proposed. When that issuance occurred, it has to be similar in nature. I believe this is similar in nature.
Absolutely.
Right, no, I understand that, but the original bid was, so when we got the money, you didn't necessarily split it up and say, this part of the pot is gonna go for well number 2 and this part is gonna go for
There were
wastewater.
projections.
It's still right now just one pot, right?
Yes.
Right, we did give a projection of what we anticipated spending that for. But, and we talked about that before, that there might be places that are over and places that are under. We'll have to look at that as a whole when we get to that point.
Well, you know, I'm just trying to determine where we're gonna get the rest of the money to finish the wastewater treatment plant that needs to come online pretty soon.
So when we put these projects into the loan and budgeted out the loan, we intentionally did not take into account impact fees, to be conservative, when we were trying to figure out how much of the loan we wanted to go after. The reality is that we do have impact fees that can pay for both the wastewater treatment plant engineering and the water plant core engineering. So it was conservatively put into the loan. And when that loan was issued, we didn't have to provide a list of, this is going to be used for these exact projects with this exact scope. It was put in there, water and sewer improvements. We were able to keep it more general to give us a little bit more flexibility because we didn't know exactly how prices were going to come in when the loan was sold. Or when the loan was sold, right?
And we were a little bit rushed when we did that. A lot of times when you do the debt issuance, you have more time, and so you can get the estimates ahead of time. We got some kind of ballpark figures and went with that because we were kind of rushed on time to be able to get that issuance in place. So it is different than what you might be accustomed to seeing, because there are times where we would have more firm numbers.
So are you anticipating this not to be a big pinch on any of our finances at all?
No, it's gonna pinch.
Oh, I know, but I'm asking. Yeah.
I can't say that it's not going to be a
Yeah.
pinch. You know, to Catherine's point, yes, there are impact fees. We anticipate more impact fees coming in. We also anticipate having a workshop with council about capital needs and how those are going to be addressed. So that's
hard to know where to pick. If we're going to be in a pinch, it's hard to know where we're going to, like, to say
Well,
yes to this, and then
so,
what if we need
We kind of don't have much of a choice, so we're going to step around a rock and a hard spot. But my question lies with the impact fees in the future. We need to have a list of all impact fees due and upcoming due, so we know what we're not just, oh, we have impact fees and writing blank checks, okay?
Right, and I have that put together. So what is listed on this page, on page 80, is expected additional impact fee payments 2024 in the amount of $990,390 that are expected to come in this year with the developments that we have agreements with.
Okay. Very
Repeat
good.
that,
Thank
Catherine.
you, Kathy.
Yeah, I'm not seeing that.
Repeat that, please.
Expected additional impact fee payments for 2024 is $990,390 for this year. Now, what that includes is Redwood Meadows, section 1, 2, and 3, and Montgomery Bend, section 3 and 4. Redwood Meadows, we're expecting their final plats to come in really any day. Montgomery Bend, the timing is a little bit more fluid.
We currently have an impact fee balance of around $726,000.
Right. So I guess we throw that word around a lot, or that phrase, oh, we use impact fees. So we need to account for every time we say we're going to use impact fees and keep track of it.
Yeah, so what we're preparing for the CIP workshop that Mary was talking about is a full list of projects, the full kind of projected impact fees out based on these developments and their timelines. There's a lot of developments that we didn't include in here because they're between all these developments that we've talked about that are in the initial stages, but we're putting that list together so you all can see, here's the actual true tied to the development's impact fees, and here's the list of projects. Costs.
So I'm with you, we hear that a lot, and it's like, are we at the end of our checking account there? Yeah.
Well, and I guess my biggest fear is that we overextend ourselves and we're counting on incoming impact fees to pay for old projects that are already here.
Robbing Peter to pay Paul.
And the impact fees should be there for the impact of the new development,
Yep,
not trying to pay for somebody else's development.
Right, and these impact fees, so again, you're limited to, so when you look at that last column, it's kind of what we had contracts out for. You're using about $300,000 of these impact fees. So we didn't collect any more, it's still sitting on 400 or so thousand.
Go on.
Those impact fees can still only be used for upsizing the facility. So we couldn't go and say, so for example, on the water plant project, we're replacing the ground storage tank with the same size. We cannot use impact fees because that doesn't increase our capacity. The well, we're increasing it from a 300 to a 500 GPM. So we can pay for that pro rata of the well. So
Gotcha.
You're required by law to only use it on the expansion. So we're still, any projects that we're gaining capacity, expanding our system, are the only things that impact these.
Good enough. All right, I don't have any more questions, it is what it is.
So again, you do have options tonight. Our recommendation would be to award the contract to Shear Construction, and then in your next agenda item, approve the change order.
Any thoughts, Carol?
No, I'm okay.
Cheryl, Stan? Yeah.
Let's go with it.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept item 6 as presented.
So motion by Casey. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Carol. This motion, the motion on the table is to accept item number 6 as presented. This motion is debatable, amendable, requires majority vote. It's open for discussion. More discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, the motion carries, and we will accept item number 6 as presented.
Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you. Item number 7 on your agenda, consideration of possible action regarding change order number 1 for the water plant number 2 improvements project.
This is that change order that we just discussed. If you have any more questions about my answer?
No, we're good.
One more time.
So where did you get those numbers? Okay.
No. Well, you kind of had to look.
I know, you had to look over too. I hear you. I hear you. I saw what you were looking at.
2.5 on 7. That's where we wanted to stay.
Yeah. Okay.
I will make a motion to accept item number 7 as presented.
Motion by Casey,
Second.
second by Stan. The motion on the table is to accept item number 7 as presented. This motion is debatable, amendable, requires majority vote. Open for discussion. All those in favor of accepting item number 7 as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, the motion carries, and we will accept item number 7 as presented. Item number 8 on your agenda, consideration of possible action regarding ending the 1-year warranty period and release of the maintenance bond for the downtown sanitary sewer rehabilitation project. Catherine?
Also me. So we performed a 1-year warranty inspection for the downtown sanitary sewer rehabilitation project. This was completed a year ago in the downtown area. It included manhole rehabilitation and CIPP of some of the sanitary lines in that downtown area, in and around the steakhouse and in that area. There were no punch items identified at the warranty inspection. Everything looked great, and so we do recommend ending the 1-year warranty period and releasing the maintenance bond with the contractor. Contractor was Tech, who was also doing the phase 1 throughout the rest of the city.
Council, what is your pleasure?
I'll make a motion to accept item 8 as presented.
The motion by Casey, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Stan. The motion on the table is to accept item number 8 as presented. This motion is debatable, amendable, requires majority vote. It's open for discussion. All those in favor of accepting item number 8 as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, the motion carries, and we will accept item number 8 as presented. Number 9 on your agenda, consideration of possible action to accept the resignation of temporary director Casey Olson from the Montgomery Crime Control and Prevention District.
I make a motion.
Sit out. Okay.
Then I will make a motion. That we consider the possible action, accept the resignation of temporary director Casey Olson from the Montgomery Crime Control and Prevention District.
Motion by Cheryl.
I'll second.
Second by Carol. The motion on the table is to accept the resignation of temporary director Casey Olson from the Montgomery Crime Control and Prevention District. This motion is debatable, amendable, requires majority vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, the motion carries, and we will release Mr. Casey Olson from the Montgomery Crime Control and Prevention District. Item number 10 on your agenda, consideration and possible action on the appointment of Michael Goodsman to serve as a temporary director for the Montgomery Crime Control and Prevention District.
I would like to appoint Michael Guzman to serve as the temporary director of Montgomery Crime Control Prevention District.
I second it.
All right. Motion moved by Casey, second by Cheryl, to appoint Michael Goodsman to serve as temporary director of Montgomery Crime Control and Prevention District. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, the motion carries, and we will accept his appointment. The appointment of Michael Goodsman, temporary director of Montgomery Crime Control and Prevention District. Item number 11 on your agenda, consideration and possible action on a request by the Montgomery Crime Control and Prevention District to schedule a special city council meeting for Monday, July 1st, 2024 at 6 p.m. to adopt the 2-year budget plan and 2-year crime control plan proposed by the district, if approved during the CCPD meeting, of which it was.
Mayor and Council, the reason why we're asking for the first, because we're within the 10-day period there, and we're coming up with holidays, and the next council meeting will put us too far out, so that's why we're asking for July 1st.
All right.
Make a motion to set a special council meeting for Monday, July 1st, 2024 at 6 p.m. to adopt the budget for the MCCPD.
Second.
I do have a question. That's going to be here at City Hall?
Yes.
Okay. All right, there's a motion by Casey, seconded by Stan, to schedule a special city council meeting for Monday, July 1st, 2024 at 6 p.m. at City Hall to adopt 2-year budget plan and 2-year crime control plan that was approved during the MCCPD meeting. This motion is debatable, amendable, requires majority vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, the motion carries, and we will accept as presented. Departmental reports, number 12 on your agenda. Tax collection report by Leslie, and I'm going to slay it.
That's okay.
Shikati?
I know, you have to be a little creative to get Scotty out of it.
Yeah, you do.
It's a lot of consonants. Yes.
Our tax collection consulting attorney with Purdue, Brandon Fielder, Collins, and Mott LLP.
Hi
there.
good evening. Thank you so much for having me, Mayor Countryman and council members. I appreciate the opportunity to come tonight and talk about delinquent tax collections as well as fine and fee collections. You should have in your board packet a colorful collection report. So note as we go through these, like their prefaces, these are delinquent taxes only. The county tax office does a really great job of collecting the city's taxes. Your taxpayers do a great job of paying their taxes. So, for example, to put this all in perspective, the tax office is collecting around 97% of the tax dollars, your base levy. And what gets turned over to me every July, delinquent turnover is around 3%. So your folks are paying, the city doesn't have a delinquent tax collection problem, so I'm getting very little meat on the bone. And this report, the tax part, represents that 3% that gets turned over yearly. This goes through the 2022 tax year. We get to start collecting on 2023 taxes on July 1. Those get turned over to us by law. And we cost the city $0. What we get paid is a contingency fee. And under the tax code, that fee, when you contract with a delinquent tax attorney, that fee is an add-on, and that is passed to the taxpayer. So the taxes generally go delinquent on February 1st. The taxpayer gets a notice in May called a 3307 notice. That notifies the taxpayer that if they're still delinquent on July 1, not in a payment agreement, still delinquent July 1, that 20% collection penalty attaches, so that fee is completely passed on to the taxpayer. They are informed that it will attach. Still delinquent on July 1, it attaches, it becomes part of the tax penalty and interest and lien on their property. And so it's a very incentivizing process, so we only get paid if we actually collect the dollars, and we only get that 20% contingency. So I like to get started with that, so that's the good news. So first up we have in your packet is an account breakdown chart. And these are accounts by status. This gives me a snapshot of your entire delinquent roll, and it tells me where the accounts are by category. So you'll notice the largest section is the action pending section at 30%. These are accounts where we'll start actively trying to collect the dollars. We have a group of collection specialists, and they write letters, make phone calls. They try to make meaningful contact with the taxpayer, let them know of the situation, offer them a payment agreement, offer them, time to make a commitment to pay the taxes. So we work very hard and diligently with the taxpayers. If we are unable to get into an agreement, we do title work research. If it's real property, find out if there's a lien holder. If there's a lien holder, we contact that lien holder, because if we file a delinquent tax suit and head to the courthouse steps for foreclosure, they would lose their interest in the property as well. Would also foreclose their interest. So we try to leave no rock unturned and letting everybody know that a delinquent tax suit is coming should the taxpayer or lien holder not take care of the delinquency. Which kind of segues me into the next section, which is the suit litigation section. 22% of your delinquent tax roll is in litigation. So once those efforts to contact the taxpayer on the phone, send a letter, talk to their lien holder, send their lien holder a letter, if those efforts fail, sometimes it's necessary for us to file a delinquent tax suit. Around 70% of people, when they're served with that delinquent tax suit, contact us, get in a payment agreement, handle the delinquency, situations rectified. We very seldomly ever get to the courthouse steps to foreclose on the property. We work with the taxpayer all along the way. They call us up, they want to pay, we work something out.
Good.
Absolutely. Next largest section is the deferral section. This represents taxpayers that are 65 or older or have a disability and have elected to defer payment of their taxes on their residence homestead. So this is only available on their residence homestead. They can only have one residence homestead in the state at a time, and they elect for this deferment with the county appraisal district. So they have to have a homestead exemption first, to jump through that hoop, and then they have to file that election to defer the payment of the taxes. And so this 18% of your tax roll is in that deferment status. We
don't make phone calls on those, we don't file suits on those, we leave those folks alone. If they want to pay the taxes during their deferment, they can certainly make partial payments, they can pay it in full, all of the above, and once they no longer use that property as their residence homestead, then the taxes typically get paid at that time, or they sell the property, they get paid in closing with the title company. Next largest section is the bad address section. This simply just represents taxpayers that have not maintained a current address with the county appraisal district. So the appraisal district does their assessment of the property, and then the tax office gets that data from the appraisal district and uses the same address that the appraisal district maintains on the account. So they come to us, when our mailings come back, we code the account bad address, we work year round to get a good address, find the taxpayer, get a good address on the account in our internal system, and if we so happen to talk to the taxpayer, try to influence them to go to the appraisal district and correct it on that level as well. So it simply just represents that segment where we're getting return mail. Uncollectible at 9% is accounts that we have deemed uncollectible internally. For personal property, there's a 4-year statute of limitation from the delinquency of the property. So sometimes we're beyond that limit, or we see that it is a business personal property account and the business is gone, the LLC or corporation that was running that business is defunct. That would be a situation where we might code an account uncollectible, because seeking a judgment simply is not going to lead to dollars, because the assets are gone. So we also like to code those and not spend our time on the fruitful accounts rather than the accounts where the assets are gone. Could be a dead-end situation. So I'm going to move along from that chart and move on to the dollar range chart. And this just tells me where the dollars are owed. Breaks down the accounts into the dollar ranges. Our system, when we get the tax office information, data, and put it into our proprietary system, it will group together taxpayers that have accounts that have similar ownership, so that when we make a phone call and an individual owns more than one account, we can talk about all those accounts in that one phone call, rather than contacting them at several different occasions asking about different accounts, so that we can be as efficiently as possible. We work a little top down so that we can collect on the higher delinquency, so we can maximize our efforts. And so this chart just simply just shows you where the dollars are owed and puts it into a category. Next chart we have is the tax year chart, and it tells you what percentages of the delinquent tax are attributable to each delinquent tax year. You'll notice the largest section is the 2022 tax year. That's what was turned over to us last July. And so we're still collecting on those. Some of those we have in payment agreements, and we are monitoring those payment agreements monthly. And then after 2022, you'll see the percentages fall pretty drastically, which is great. You want your newer delinquencies to be the bulk of your delinquencies, because they are going to be the accounts that are more readily collectible. 15 and prior at 16%. Some of those older tax years are attributable to accounts that have the over 65 or homestead deferments, that we can't work on them, but if the taxpayer chooses to pay, they may. Sometimes those deferments last several years. After that, I have historical collection data for tax years 18 through 2022. So this just kind of lets you know where we are through the year on our collection stats. For example, on the 18 chart, you'll see that we are almost 99% collected of what was turned over to us to collect back in July of 2019. And so I have similar charts through the 2022 tax year. You'll see people are paying their taxes. They want to keep their piece of city of Montgomery on hand, and I don't blame them. So last up, I just wanted to point out that the 2022 percentage of collections were almost 69% collected of what was turned over to us a little under a year ago. So we're in a great position going into 2023 collections. So that new year will be added on, and we'll start campaigning on that and working hard to get those folks' attention. After that, I shift gears. I have some collection stats for the fines and fees. And I just want to direct your attention to the bottom chart. It gives you a nice little snapshot of where everything is. You'll see that most things are getting resolved. We've resolved about 30% of the accounts in payment. The court has resolved 48%. Our main goal is to get in touch with the violators, and I should have set this up a little bit better. So with the fines and fees collections, by law, it's also a contingent fee arrangement
Okay.
where once those accounts are turned over to us by law, a 30% fee is added to those. And so we don't get paid on those either unless we actually do the work and get the accounts collected. So we make phone calls, we send letters, we fix addresses on accounts because people move around, believe it or not. People drive through your town and move on along. So our main goal is to get in touch, get their attention, bring them to the court to have a meaningful resolution. So about 22% of what's been turned over to us is still outstanding. So many things are getting resolved. You can also see that number of addresses that we've corrected on accounts, the amount of letters we've mailed, phone number changes, and phone number contacts. And then after that, I have some fun charts that I include just because it's a fun demonstration. So first up, you have the top 10 accounts by zip code. So you can kind of see where the top violators are, we have tracked them down. And then after that, you have the top 10 bad address accounts by zip code. And my favorite, last but not least, is where all of them have gone. So you see they've just kind of gone all over the nation. And so
Wow.
we're trying to track them down to the four corners of the... To wrap up, just letting you know we have a tax sale scheduled for July for the delinquent tax stuff. And if you're interested, you can sign up on our website, pbscm.com. It's on the front of the report. Tax sales are now conducted online, so we also have information on how to register for those online tax sales on our website as well.
All right. Very in-depth.
I throw a lot of information.
Good stuff. No, it's good.
It's good.
That is good.
Thank you.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Thank you for having me this evening.
Thank you for making it. We appreciate it.
Take care.
Does Montgomery have property in the tax sale?
There actually is, yes.
There is?
Oh.
There is, yeah.
Is
Looking
there
for a new house?
like 3? Is there 5?
I think it is 2.
2.
Let's see where I touched my... Yes, it's 2 accounts that were under the same lawsuit. Nope, sorry, I am misleading you. That's set for trial. I have 1 account that is set for the July tax sale. And we're talking with that individual. So I'm hoping that we'll get it resolved before
Okay.
the tax sale date.
So if you go and sign up for it, can you
Absolutely.
see the ones that are coming up for the sale?
So you don't actually have to sign up. You can go to the website.
Right.
There is a tax sale tab at the top of the page.
Okay.
And then it'll direct you to all of the counties we have tax sales posted, select Montgomery, and it'll take you to the list of what's on the July tax sale.
Right.
If you're interested in the signing up, if you're interested in receiving a weekly notification, you'll get an email every Friday because everybody wants more emails.
Right.
But if you're interested in following,
Okay.
and also if you get on and view, you can also see where we posted instructions and a link to the company, which is the online tax sales.
All right.
That's great. Good stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I'd like to make it an annual occurrence.
Yeah, come on.
Sure. Yes.
Take care. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Very interesting.
That was very good. All right, number 13, May 2024 financial report.
All right, Mayor and Council. One of the things I would like to point out to you in the report, we're at the 8-month point, so 2/3 of the year. So you would expect to see, like our revenues be at 67 to 77% realized. If you look at page 105 of your packet, you will see that we only have just less than 13% in general fund revenue to collect. So we're doing great. in that
Way
aspect.
ahead, yep.
Yeah, that's good.
Also doing great on the expense side. We've spent about 50% of what was budgeted.
Sorry, Marion, what did you say? We're at 13, but what was the right number to be at, you said? Like 67, 60?
You have to
Oh, 2/3 of 70. Okay, all right,
So
yep.
To do it backwards.
if you were going by that,
Yeah.
you would expect to have 33%.
Sure. Yeah, no, we're doing really well.
left in
Okay.
revenue, we only have just under 13.
Great.
And you would expect to have about that same amount left for expenses, but we're at 50% point. Let's see.
Everybody
The
told me
other
we couldn't make that budget after we cut it through.
item, overall, if you look at page 116, I hadn't pointed this out to you before, but you can see the payable account for last month. We had 235 payables and 107 payments were issued for those payables. Gives you just an idea of the items we're working on. Then, on page 122, this is where you'll see those capital, the impact fees. So you can see last month, we actually had an impact fee deposit of $320,232. And so far this year, we've taken in $612,549. Any questions on that part of the report? Other thing I would point out is on the sales tax report, back on page 129, that we currently are trending almost 20% higher than sales tax last year.
Good.
Any
Yeah.
questions?
Is this with the new company? This is with,
That report that you see in this report is the report from HDL.
okay.
Yeah, that's the report that we get from them. They have not, they're still in the process of identifying and gathering all of the information to reach out to the comptroller. I do not see any new recoveries in there based on information that we have from the previous sales tax folks. I know that there had been some question about whether or not they had contacted the comptroller. We're not seeing anything new at this point, but we anticipate for the next few months.
So we still haven't found all of our, like Airbnb dollars, our hot taxes.
So on the Airbnb piece, I was able to pull information from the state comptroller site. And the Airbnbs that are in our jurisdiction have been paying with the exception of one that we've sent a letter to.
And we have 17? I heard 17 or 20?
That number is incorrect. That was the number that Azabar, which is the
Yep.
folks that work with us to collect, that was the number that they initially had anticipated. So that's why I went out to the comptroller site and pulled the information and worked to identify the addresses of whether or not they were really within our jurisdiction. And what they were pulling, you have to remember they're out of state, what they're pulling, it's not in our jurisdiction, it's outside of our zone.
Yeah, and I recently learned too that there's a expiration to go back and retro collect these Airbnbs and
We can go back.
Bobros, right? It's 2 years. So, 3 years? Okay, yeah. Because again, I know we've got several of them and I know that we have never seen money from them. So getting on
So what
that.
we're able to do on that is we're able to go back and see what they reported to, because they have to pay their state tax as well for hotel occupancy. And so we're able to see what they report as revenue. Now, not all of those things are subject to the local hot tax, but most of them are. So that we are looking at that.
Okay. We've been looking at it for a couple of years. I just see money going out that we are owed. So it's top of mind for sure.
Marianne, last report, you talked about investigating some sales tax that we may have to pay back because it was paid to us incorrectly. Is
Right.
that this or is this something else?
So that's part of the service that HDL offers is identifying the tax that is rightfully ours and that may not be rightfully ours. Right now, there's not been anything identified.
Okay.
So yeah, like for instance, we said that our fees, the hotel, the hot taxes, hotel occupancy. I mean, we thought we were gonna get 5,000 and we're negative, we're way under that.
So one of the things that
Or
happened to us on
2,300.
hot tax is we had a entity pay hot tax in January. It was a pretty large chunk, and it was not, it's not ours. They're not in our jurisdiction. So that was one of the things that we identified. We worked with Azabar to get them the refund, got them the refund. Well, then in April, we received a tax payment from another entity that's not in our jurisdiction. So we had to refund that as well.
Is it where they get their, or they're registered where they get their mail, or where the bed, the head is in the bed?
So what happens is, I think sometimes when people get a Montgomery zip code,
Yeah.
they think, oh, I'm in the city.
Yeah.
And so that's created a problem in two cases.
Because I know for a fact, I know 2 of them we've never received money from, and it would be a nice big check if we had been collecting those.
I'd like to talk to you about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Thank you. All right. Item number 14, Mike with Public Works, May 2024 report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. You have our report in front of you. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Are utility girls looking at the utility bills still when they go out, kind of doing what Randy used to do?
Yeah.
There, okay.
Yeah, so,
We had someone with a really high $3,300 bill that usually has like a $70 bill, I think. And,
I don't know about that one specifically.
okay,
Yeah, so Nicole is, so our admin assistant with
Yeah.
Public Works is still doing the audits that Randy taught her how to do. And now Kristen is doing them also, so now Nicole's looking at them as more of a backup to what Kristen is looking at.
Okay.
Just to make sure we're catching billing errors or whatever. I can't speak to what utility billing is looking at before it goes out. That would
Sure.
probably be Mary Ann.
it was something we can look at because it's a significant jump. And when talking to Kristen, well, I guess Carol, you spoke to Kristen, so I won't speak for you. But there was a couple of leaks, and because of all the rain, they thought that the water was being held because of the water, or the rain, right?
Yeah.
Not because there were leaks. And when the
33,000?
3,300.
Oh, 100, okay.
Yeah, $3,300 bill. And
Gotcha.
so, like, the water's been shut off, and she's had to leave and go live with somebody till this all gets rectified. And we just want to, thought it was should have gotten caught. That's the only thing, because it was shocking, as you can imagine. Okay, we'll work with you on it, yeah. Okay, yeah. And I think you talked to
I'll let Mary
Kristen.
Ann comment on whatever Kristen was looking at,
Okay.
because I don't know specifically.
All right. I just want to make sure that practice was still taking place.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Tobacco is in working order now?
It is fixed, and we are waiting on it to be shipped back. So, yeah, in fact, I got an email on it earlier. So, should be getting it back in the next couple of days. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, number 15, utility operations, May 2024. Hayes.
Hello,
Hello.
evening council. On the report in front of you, consumption this last month of 11 million gallons there. So you can see that, plant pumpage 12.06 million, and so total water accountability at 94.55%. We're doing a lot of our flushing. This was during the time period when we had all of the rain, so the water usage was pretty low, so flushing is even critical when you've got a lot less rain, less water usage. You can see the split between the two wells and the plant, and then the next page is the wastewater treatment plant. I'm very happy to report that we're still in compliance, the plant's running good, and all of the efforts that we put towards it is paying off. So we're in compliance with the state, so good place to be. Next page is just kind of the status of where we are. We're about 40-something% through the year as far as our pumpage permit, and we pumped about 47% of our permit on our Catapula and 15% of our Jasper. So we'll be watching that very closely as we get towards the end of the year. had a lot of growth, so it may be that we need to do a permanent amendment, but we'll be paying close attention as we get further through the year. I don't have anything else for the council tonight. If you have any questions?
Do you feel like you have unwound enough of what you walked into? Do you feel like you're on solid ground?
I feel like we're getting on more solid ground.
Yeah, okay.
We're working really well with Mike.
Good.
There's been other, lots of things, you guys are well aware of the lift station issues and the sewer line issues, those kinds of things.
Yeah.
But as far as the plant's concerned,
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like we're
Okay.
definitely unwinding, and we're finally on some kind of level
Good.
ground.
Okay.
And so, yeah, we just keep on doing what we do.
Thank you for your efforts. That's awesome.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, number 16, May 2024 court report. Kimberly.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Citations for May 2024, 174 citations, and the collections for May was $34,976.71. Any questions for the court report?
You have a new employee?
I do have an employee, her name is Ms. Olin Birch, can't pronounce it just yet, we're working on that, but she did start on Monday.
Okay, good.
I'd like to add for the court report that our very own Judge Chad Peace will be next month with the U.S. Supreme Court, the Institute for Court Management. He is the only Texan that's there, and he wrote a program for municipal courts because he's part of the municipal court. So they inducted his portion that he actually wrote, and that will be presenting that with the U.S. Supreme Court next month.
Awesome.
That's very
Tell them congratulations.
So, you know,
That's awesome.
so, thank you guys.
Thank you. All right, next up, number 17, May 2024 PD and CE reports.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. You have the report in front of you. If you have any questions, I've seen y'all quite a bit.
When is your next red class? Do you have
My
one?
next rec class probably won't be until around maybe January.
January, okay.
What's terroristic threat retaliation?
We had a terroristic threat retaliation from another reported incident, and the person tried to call and retaliate, so they were arrested for retaliation, terroristic threat.
Chief, I got the pleasure to ride out with two of your officers, and you've gotten some good talent, and they are very excited to be here. And I don't know what your secret sauce is, but even different, they love this place, and they're committed, and they think a lot of you, so good job on that. That's a good culture to have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And they say they like the culture.
Thank you.
Thank you. Right, and last but not least, number 18, engineers report.
All right, I will look at the highlights of my report. Going to number 2 on the first page, the Lone Star Groundwater Conservation District permit amendment. We did receive approval for both permit amendments on June 11th at Lone Star's board meeting. This is to increase the allocation for both your Jasper Aquifer wells and your Tidewood wells. Going to item number 4 is your FM 1097 sanitary sewer rehab. So the rain event on May 16th caused that sanitary sewer line to fail. The cement stabilized sand fell on top of it, broke it. We are now running bypass pumping to pump the sewer to the nearest manhole. As far as the design, we're expecting that to be complete. On here we have by the end of the month, subject to obtaining the required easements. That is probably going to delay us. End of the month is the end of this week. We don't have those easements yet, so it will not be the end of this month. But as soon as we have those easements, we'll be ready to start doing some emergency bidding. So because of the emergency situation, we're able to bypass the bidding laws, and we can solicit to contractors because of the nature of the damages. Going to page 2 of my report, sanitary sewer rehab phase 2. We are expecting this contractor to mobilize in early July. So just a reminder, this is pipe bursting the sanitary sewer line going under 105 right outside of City Hall. So they're expecting to get started next month. Lift station 10 improvements, we did receive a pay estimate for them, and then we completed the final inspection on June 18th and issued a punch list at that time, some very small items, site restoration and changing a couple of covers for the valves. And they are working to address the punch list items. They've already addressed a couple of them. The project is being funded by Bolton Homes. Item number 8 is the Old Clarenceville Forest Main extension. We had a pay estimate for them as well. The big item on this one is that they are expecting to do the bore underneath the railroad on July 8th. So that's their last big piece that they need to do. All the rest of the construction has been completed. It is in the ground. They're doing site restoration along the rest of the way. And then we've got the railroad bore, which is an exciting piece. Going to the next page, I'm going to jump down to item number 15. The Buffalo Springs Road reconstruction. So we did receive our first pay estimate for that for side. We also have a change order number 1. This is a decrease in the contract amount by a negative $12,685.50.
Nice.
This includes some adjustment to stabilization quantities and striping. It's just adjustments because of field conditions. Once they got out there and geotech came out, we were able to adjust the quantities of stabilization. So. Because it's a negative change order, that can be approved at the staff level. Just wanted to make you guys aware that that's happening. They are expecting the road to be complete by the end of August. So the signs out on 105 say September. It's still accurate, and August is September. Going to the next page is the signal at Buffalo Springs and 105. So the contractor has ordered the equipment. They're expecting it to be delivered next month. As of right now, we are working through getting some power to the signal. So working with Entergy to try to get power to both the signal and Home Depot. So if signal doesn't have power, Home Depot doesn't have power. And so that it's helping because they're able to apply pressure as needed as well. That's our current challenge. If all goes well with Entergy, they're still expected to complete on time. We were able to issue plan approval for the Redbird Meadows lift station. And going to also on Redbird Meadows, it is our understanding they're planning to have their flats taken to the July Planning and Zoning Commission. As a reminder on this one, the impact fees are due at the time of platting for all 3 of their sections. Going down to the next section, ongoing construction. The update for all 3 of these, really we're waiting on Entergy to bring power to the lift station, which is expected by the end of this week. Hopefully, they've been delayed a few times by Entergy. So once it has power and they're able to energize the lift station, we will inspect that as well as all of the utilities and paving in sections 1 and 2 at that time. Going to the next page, going back to Redbird Meadows, we had a pre-construction meeting with them on June 5th, and they are beginning work out there. A couple of 1-year warranty inspections, just kind of standing items as the punches are getting addressed. And then on tech stocks, we had a very productive meeting with them last week, which Sarah and Stan were in attendance of. This is a biannual meeting that we're having with them, so June and December are our meeting dates, our meeting months. Just going over all of the projects that are currently going on, what's coming, and some issues that we're having. We are also meeting on site with them on Thursday at Atkins Creek to discuss the drainage issues and immediate repairs and what needs to be done from TxDOT's perspective to protect 1097. We're also working with them on their access management plan from Shepherd Street out to the Grimes County line. They're currently at a 90% phase of those plans. We're working with them on utility conflicts and from the city's perspective. That is not scheduled to let until 2026, and they're working from west to east in phasing, and Montgomery's in phase 3, so we won't see construction in the city for quite a few more years. And then we are continuing to have our bi-weekly operations calls with staff and the city's operator. And that's all I have on my report.
Question for you. Lake Creek Village, I know they submitted the televising. I think y'all are looking at it. Have y'all, where is that? I'm being asked where this is.
We've reviewed the videos and we're preparing a summary of our findings that we're going to discuss with staff on Friday.
Okay. All right. It just wasn't on here, so I thought I would ask you. Okay.
And then one question, I didn't see anything on here. I think it's called, is it Havenshire? Havenshire? Have they contacted? They give you information?
They've not reached out to us.
Nothing at all. So everything we requested from them, they just blew out the door.
No, I think that they're trying to get their 100%.
Okay.
They gotta, before they go and gather a whole bunch of stuff and give it to us, we want to make sure, they need to make sure that everybody's on board.
The
So-
first step is they've got to file an petition.
Yeah, and that's with 100% alignment, right? So, and if I'm reading the room correctly, there was at least one outlier here,
Always is.
so, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Council, I will entertain a motion about the departmental reports.
I'll make a motion to approve item 12 through 18.
Motion by Carol,
Second?
second by Casey to approve items 12 through 18. This motion is debatable, amendable, requires majority vote. It's open for discussion. All those in favor of accepting items 12 through 18 as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, the motion carries, and we will accept the departmental reports as presented. Executive session. Adjourn into closed executive session as authorized by the Texas Open Meetings Act, Chapter 551 of the Government Code of the State of Texas. The City Council reserves the right to discuss any of the items listed specifically under the heading or for any items listed above in executive closed session as permitted by law, including if they meet the qualifications in number 19, 551071, consultation with attorney, potential litigation, town hydrology update, and next steps. In 20, 551.074, personnel matters, discussion with the city attorney regarding legal aspects of organizational structure. It is 7:37, and we will head into executive session. Thank y'all for coming.
You need to plug your computer in, I still do.
Nah, I'm good. whenever
We
there's a
don't- but that's the thing,
conversation.
We don't want names, we just want positions.
Okay.
All right, it is 9:14, and we are coming back in from executive session. So there is no action from executive session, so we'll move on to council inquiry.
So, I have an inquiry about, before budget, we get tied up into that, Gary, because that's our budget meeting is when?
We have a workshop scheduled for the 8th.
8th, which is a Monday.
Yes.
Oh, that's
That's
a
what we thought,
Monday?
yeah, it's a Monday. Yeah, it's
I
Monday.
told you it was.
Yeah.
6 p.m.
Well, I should make that one.
Okay. But Sarah, you'll be gone,
I'll be gone.
The concert was on the 7th.
which is a
7th is Sunday.
I know, but the concerts aren't on Sunday,
Yeah,
Oh,
they
they
are.
are?
are they?
Bunch of
Yeah,
them.
is it called 80s concert? I'll look it up real quick.
It's in,
Cincy Woods?
Where's it
no,
at?
it's in
Casey?
Louisiana.
Oh, sure, never mind.
I will be back though, because I gotta work Monday. so.
Okay, go ahead.
So anyway,
Anyways, before we really get tied up in our budget workshops and stuff, we were looking for a employee hierarchy
Okay.
and also a
Like
position,
you want a flow chart?
just the hierarchy of who answers, and because you're the administrator, everyone should flow to you.
Yeah.
Everyone.
yep.
Agreed.
And then then we go through you, so it's us and then you and then everybody behind that, right? Okay.
Yeah.
And then if it, we also would like to see a positional job description.
For
of-
each position.
Of the hierarchy that.
Job
Yeah, the job duties, yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. No names, just after those positions based on that hierarchy.
And pay.
And
Or pay range.
the range.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we can look at we can use it for budgeting and see what we need to do to structure.
Okay. So player hierarchy, flow chart, positional job description, pay range. Got it.
Yes, sir. And that's what, 2 weeks, 3 weeks from now?
That's
A little over 2 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, I'll get you guys something by next week.
Yeah, well, Monday, with that budget meeting is fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, even if we
Yeah.
don't go, we might not even get into that deep into the budget at
Right.
that point. This is just something we want for budget season.
Gotcha.
And that's all I have, Mayor.
I have something.
Yes.
Yes.
Stan did.
I want to know if we can find somebody for going through town that didn't tell us they were coming through town.
Do what?
Last Monday, when we had a control meeting, a big old tanker thing or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Came through town, picking up our stoplights and stuff.
John Fox
And they
got
didn't
caught
tell
that.
us
I did too.
they were coming through.
And they never, so Chief was supposed to talk too, because we were in that meeting, you were here.
Yeah.
And he said he was gonna call TechStop. They failed to tell us.
Because is it
They're supposed to tell
state
us.
highway, do they have to tell us?
Yeah.
What did they bring through?
A huge tanker and locked up gridlocked the city.
So they wound up having to drop a bunch of lines?
They had
Well, they
people
have
up
to
and
lift them.
lift ups, every light in both ways was stopped.
Lifting up lights and.
What day was
and they
that?
didn't
It
tell
was
us
on
the police
a-
department.
No, you weren't here.
And that crazy
Oh,
John
that's while I
Fox,
was gone.
Yes.
he found that out before he got to the city limits, and he didn't make that, like we always do, that turnaround so you could get to the house and get in front of him.
Yeah, it took me 20 minutes to get to the high school.
He was so mad.
I could have sworn that y'all did an ordinance on this several years ago.
We did.
Required
You
them
are
to
correct.
PD, and PD's supposed to give them an escort through town.
Yeah, and they had sheriff or constable, I think they had constable, that was escorting them, and, because I was here for a meeting and I had to go back through Plantersville, and he said, they didn't tell us anything, and they're supposed to.
Pretty sure that's an ordinance y'all.
So, yeah, you're right.
And they have to get their,
But what do you do whenever they don't tell us? I mean, I don't think there's any recourse.
That's the thing.
yeah.
I mean, it's just you can,
Yeah, they're supposed to.
Put 'em in
phone call
timeout.
the
you
city
can, yeah, no tech stop for you.
Hours beforehand, I forget if it's 24 hours or what, but.
Well, then if they don't give notice, the police could write them a citation.
Oh, nice job,
We
Al.
need to get some money for what they did.
And was that Tech Stop that when Home Depot shut off those, because PD didn't know about that either, that road, the Tech Stop didn't do that because that's a Tech Stop Highway 105?
That's probably the contractor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
'Cause
Probably
Part of it.
accidental.
Yeah, there's no recourse on that.
Probably accidental.
You want to get that road built? Probably not.
Yeah, but I think, I'm glad you brought that up, and that's right, there is an ordinance, because with this growth, we're gonna continue to have. And I saw Entergy trucks. Whatever that means. Maybe that's because they were doing the lights,
Oh,
never mind.
Yeah, they
Yeah, they were doing the lights, yeah.
I will hire
Yeah,
guys with
yeah.
bucket trucks.
I was gonna color up the Home Depot comment made by the engineers for their stoplight. Home Depot has been put on like a 2-month hold by Entergy because it won't come turn the damn power on. And they need power.
Yeah.
Why won't they?
Because it's Entergy and they're a bunch of jackwagons.
Hey, Carol, when John was building the back part of 2978 in the Woodlands, they had, I think, 15 houses. They had to put generators on because they wouldn't come turn electricity on.
Well, we got annihilated by RABBQ when all that electricity went out a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, it's not a city thing. I think there was a wreck, actually. And Entergy just does not have a good name. It's like ever since they moved to the Woodlands, they've done worse than
Yeah,
when
because
they were
they
in
called me and
Louisiana.
said, do you know somebody in Energy we can call? Because they have got us locked up, we can't do nothing.
Yeah,
Man,
I said, good luck.
good, yeah, right.
was that it, Stan?
That's it.
Okay, yeah, no, that's a
That
good
was
catch.
good.
Grab that gavel.
Okay, well,
Make a motion to adjourn?
I second.
all those in favor say aye. Those opposed say nay. We will adjourn. It is 9:20.